this is Isabelle Litzler. So today's video is about job applications in Switzerland. I've done quite a few videos about applications in general, but I thought I would do a refresher. And also I will link at the end of this one my whole webinar I've done when I started my business about cover letter and resume, which is still up to date. You will get all the information about what needs to go on a cover letter and what needs to go on a resume. So this is going to be very helpful to build the right documents. So the first tip, the first thing I want to say is that before you even get into writing cover letters and resumes, you need to decide what it is that you're going to sell yourself as in Switzerland. So I'll refer back to my video from last week about potential, because I explained a little bit which websites you can use to figure out your career path and how that's going to help you with the Swiss market. So there's a little bit of work involved there before you tackle the application, in terms of really finding out how do your skills match with what the Swiss market offers. And this is where a lot of clients struggle, by the way, because it's not necessarily a straight line. So again, I would recommend you also watch my webinar on how to get a job in Switzerland. It's linked below, because that's going to really give you the full spectrum of Switzerland and what you need to do to be successful there. So really the first thing is figure out your potential, figure out your career path in Switzerland before you even start application writing, because otherwise it's just going to be a little bit of a chance. And unfortunately in Switzerland, it's not something where you can say, okay, maybe for 2 months I try to write marketing specialist, and oh, that doesn't work. Well, maybe I'll put something else, like now I can do virtual assisting. So you keep changing, hoping that one day you get lucky, and unfortunately by that time you've completely become not really credible in Switzerland. So just be careful with your credibility, with your skills. In Switzerland you can't keep changing back and forth. So the first step is to really understand that you need to understand what you are selling to an employer, and then start writing a proper cover letter and CV, which is something I explained in other videos. The second thing is you need to have very substantial accompanying documents, meaning you need to have recommendations from previous employers, maybe from people in a group that you belong to, or maybe you're in a network, professional network, anyone that can say, this person is qualified in this and I can attest to it, is always going to make you a stronger candidate in the Swiss market. So because as an expat, you're a non-known entity, you don't have experience in Switzerland, people take a huge chance in having you on board. So you just have to be aware of that. The Swiss will always prefer someone that has grown in Switzerland, understands the market and all that, rather than someone who's coming from abroad with very little experience. So just be aware of that and make sure that you have those recommendation letters in your application. Make sure that you have LinkedIn recommendations. And I would say make sure you get them before you leave the workforce, because once you leave a company, it's harder to go and chase people to write those letters. I've done 2 letters recently for volunteers. It's helped them tremendously in their application, because then it's not just them saying, I can do these things, but it's someone saying, yes, I can sustain, I can say that they can do these tasks because they've done them for me. So that's how you build your credibility. It's not just saying I can do this on a resume, but actually I have people around me who can say that I'm good at this. I've built a reputation in those things. So just be aware of that. I know a lot of people out there, whether it's in Switzerland or outside, doesn't really matter. A lot of people try to sell themselves as something that they're not. So it's the whole trend with social media. You can also say anything you want on there. Everyone becomes number one and becomes the expert and so forth. No one is really actually able to check that unless they actually start getting in touch with this person and understand what it is that they're doing. So it's easy now to lie or to misrepresent yourself. But just be aware that at some point you will have that reference check. So just be worried that whatever you put on there has to be the truth. Also, what I see people doing is that they're not really representing what it is that they're good at. So I'll give you a very easy example that I use all the time, because for me it's straightforward, is marketing. So a lot of people want a career in marketing, especially in Switzerland. For me, a marketer is someone who's very good with visual images and text, and they have this thing for presentation of documents, and so forth. So how can you be possibly taken seriously as a marketer when I go to your LinkedIn profile and I see you have no banner, you have no professional photo, you have no real clear design of your whole profile? Same thing on your resume. I go on your resume and there's no real branding to your resume. So then how are you going to sell to me that you're a marketing expert when you can't even do it for your own profile? Now that can be, of course, pushed back. People can say, well, I can do it for a company. I'm just not good at doing it for myself. But then again, I would strongly say, look, there's tons of people who are marketing specialists out there. Some of them actually have a great resume and a great profile. Why would I trust what you're saying when somebody else has actually showed on paper that they're doing it very well for themselves? So just be aware of those things. It's not necessarily something that makes sense to you immediately, but when you're selling yourself as something, make sure that you actually represent this. So I know, for example, now that I've developed some marketing eye with time and my experiences, I cannot possibly bear to see that my photo is not professional photo, my branding is not well put together. I mean, it just gives me almost hives. I mean, a marketer, someone who's actually has some kind of link to marketing, will not accept to have something like this that they present to a company. So you just have to be careful if you want to be taken seriously in a field, that your image, that what you're showing to the world is actually matching what you're saying that you do. So that's a huge part of being successful in an application. It's not very complicated. It's just basically actually being able to show that you are the type of a person that's right for the job. So it's not just talking, it's actually being a doer and showing it for yourself, and that you're the right person for the job. And finally, I would really suggest that you don't apply for everything that you see. So if you're in the Swiss market thinking, I'm going to just inundate the market with my application, praying that something happens, it's not going to happen. So unfortunately, it's the opposite in Switzerland. The less you apply, the more in demand you are. So people that I've met throughout my career now in Switzerland that are high profile, wanted people, I've actually never sent a resume, or they've sent very few resumes, maybe here and there on request. It's very known in Geneva that you send your resume only when requested. So if you meet someone at an event, or if you maybe you're in touch with a potential employer, then they will say, send me your resume. You just send it as an attachment, but that's it. People don't go and really apply as much as it is in other countries. Very few people in Switzerland actually apply on job boards because they know it's useless, and they know that the best candidates and the best companies don't find each other that way. So it's just unknown for maybe the external people, but in Switzerland, that's it. That's how you find jobs. It's by talking to people, networking, going for coffees. That's how you do business. But very few people find jobs by inundating the market. So just be aware of that. If you want to be taken seriously and you want to be part of those people that do find opportunities in Switzerland, just be wary also how you present yourself to the world. So if you're one of those people, typical expat that says, I'm going to apply everywhere, hope something happens, you're going to kill your credibility, you're going to be taken less seriously, and it's going to be tougher to rebuild your profile from there to find a job. So again, watch the link below on Potential, and also the link on Swiss CV and cover letter. I'll talk to you soon.